and it's time that um, we start to make sure everybody's trained and understands the transition to the new R454B product, which we have on order. So timing's good here, and Bruce, thanks for doing it, and take it away.
All right, cool. Thanks, Jeff. So Bosch is really in our transition, um, meaning that we are about 95% out of our R410 product, and we are already started shipping our 454 product. Um, that being said, APR has been selling our 454 product in our Ultra, and you'll see a little snippet on that. I'm not going to talk about it a lot because that's already been in the market since last year. The main thing I'm going to go over today is our transition on the IDS product, but the Ultra is part of the IDS family. And so I'm going to kind of go through that and touch on a few things. First thing that I want to kind of talk about, if you are a contractor, one of the things that Bosch did for the first time ever, and that's in any of our divisions, is we actually had a Super Bowl ad. Granted, it was not a Bosch Home Comfort Super Bowl ad. It was the power tool side and the appliance side. But the one thing that I will suggest to you is that when you are talking to a homeowner, or you're just talking to somebody that's thinking about what they're looking for their HVAC needs in the future, just mentioning that name Bosch is very powerful. I don't know how many times I'll talk to somebody and say, hey, I sell Bosch HVAC, and the first thing out of the people's mouth is, oh, we love your dishwasher. And it's a very powerful thing to talk about. So that's kind of the reason I mentioned this. Just be aware that Bosch is going to be Bosch Home Comfort will be partnering more with the appliance division. We just did the builders show out in Vegas with the appliance division. So not that I can sell you a dishwasher, but it is something that you're going to see more in the future with Bosch homes, things like that, because we're already selling the appliances to those builders and things like that, and we definitely want to get the Bosch HVAC equipment in the door as well. So just something I wanted to share. All right, so our current IDS portfolio in the 410 product will totally be going away, just because we can no longer build our 410 products. Now, that being said, will we be able to have a 410 unit if for some reason there's a catastrophic failure in the future? Yes, but it's going to be sold 100% different. It's going to have a whole different SKU number. It will have its own label that will say component. So there's going to be those types of things that you're going to see in the future. It's not that we can't ever build one, but we can't sell them as a system. So that's part of the regulations that were set in place. But what we are doing is introducing some new SKUs, and that is going to be the 454 product. So it's only 41 SKUs. So it's not like this humongous launch of 1,000 different SKUs. Now, of course, this doesn't include parts. There's going to be several parts that are going to be different. There's going to be some changes because of the A2L restrictions and those kinds of things. But if you were to actually set our 410 unit next to our 454 unit in our IDS portfolio, you would not be able to tell the difference unless you saw the stickers. What do I mean by stickers? You'll see that in some slides coming up. But it's going to say, hey, this has a potential being flammable, or it'll say like A2L. There's just going to be that's kind of the difference. Our footprint, you'll notice that is going to stay the same. So we're still going to be under that 30-inch square, which is loved by a lot of contractors throughout the U.S. because we can get through doors and gates, and we can even get up some chases and stuff like that. So there's a lot of advantages to us maintaining the size of our product, and that, of course, is all the way up to that 5-ton unit. Even if you look at the Ultra, even though it's a lot taller, it is still under that 30 inches square. So huge selling point. Something to think about when you're definitely talking to people, keeping that low profile unit, even that taller one. I saw some units at AHR similar to ours, were much larger, and that was with ours on a stand. So you'll definitely be able to see a difference when comparing our products to others. And so how we're going to market, if you can remember, we kind of called it our 15 SEER, our 18 SEER, and our 20 SEER. Well, then they changed to SEER 2, and they changed some HSPF regulations. There's a lot of things. And so even though we called it an 18th SEER, it might have only come in at 17.9 or 17.8 or those kind of things. So we're kind of going away from naming it a SEER rating, just because what we have to rate that equipment at, it doesn't even come close to what it's actually going to run at most of the time. And so that's why we want to kind of change that thought process when talking about our products. So you're going to see our light product portfolio, and then we're going to have our premium product portfolio. And then when you match the two, we're going to have the plus product portfolio. So you got premium, plus, and light. And between those three different, we're going to fall in those same SEER ratings. And when I say same, similar. We might be better in some, we might be equal to, or we might be a little bit lower in some. But when we're looking at rebates, tax credits, those kinds of things, our premium product is going to hit everything. So we're going to have 2, 3, 4, 5-ton matches that are going to hit everything that's out there as far as any sort of rebates, tax credits, those kinds of things. We will have the matches to get you into that game if you need be, and of course we'll have other matches if you're trying to be more cost competitive. So that's kind of where that light product comes into play. And we'll talk a little bit more about this. One thing I do want to say, I do have local manufacturer reps that are in the whole footprint of APR. If you want a more technical training, you want to learn more about the dip switches and how it hooks up and a lot of that kind of stuff. Anybody at APR can definitely get you in contact with the right people to do these trainings. Some of you may have already been to those trainings, but this is going to be a little bit higher level. I'm not going to get real technical. That doesn't mean you can't ask a technical question, but just let you know that this is going to be more just to kind of go over the product categories. And if for some reason I don't know, I will get back to Jeff with whatever that question was, whatever the answer is, and then he can make sure that whoever asked the question gets the information. So this next page kind of shows you kind of the product itself. So of course on the top left we have our light, then we have our plus, our premium, and then our ultra. Now the biggest thing that I like to point out here, like I said, is if you look at our premium product, which is going to be the premium connected and the ultra, we're going to be in the ballpark everywhere for any of the V.6.1. So that's mostly what people look at when they look at rebates. And then of course, if the tax credit were to continue or does continue, we'll definitely be qualifying for all that kind of stuff. So just kind of keep that in mind that depending on what it is you're looking for, we have the products that you'll need. The other thing is we're also going to qualify in that premium product 2, 3, 4, and 5-ton. If you include the ultra, we'll have a condenser and coil match only to go on anybody's furnace. In the past, that meant that V.6.1 with our 410 portfolio, we only had that in a 3-ton system. So we didn't have it 2, 3, 4, and 5. We only had it in 3 tons. So moving forward, you'll actually be able to pair our products outdoor condenser, coil only on anybody's furnace. So that opens a lot of doors for a lot of people. One thing, if you're familiar with us on the geothermal side of the market, Bosch has nomenclature that we go by. And so when our first IDS came out, we really didn't follow any sort of a nomenclature guideline. But with our growth and with having to transition to this new portfolio, we definitely want people to understand when they go up to one of our systems and they look at that model number, they can tell exactly what that unit is. Now, I know what I'm showing you is an eye chart. I don't expect you to be able to read it, but I just want to give the example of in the future, all of our model numbers are going to mean something. Whether it says it's 410, 454, maybe we have to change to a newer refrigerant in 10 years again. I'm still going to be in the business in 10 years. I'm not looking forward to if that happens, but it could happen. But the point is that anytime that you, from here moving forward, any unit that you go look at that has a model number, you're going to be able to know exactly what it is. And that's what we're looking for. Bosch always tries to make it easy on us as the sales team. When we're talking about this stuff, they want to make it easy on our distribution partners to be able to identify product as needed. And then of course, at the contractor level, we want you to be able to walk up to a unit, have a cheat sheet of our nomenclature and say, okay, it has this letter, it means this. It has this, it means this. And so you'll know exactly what you're looking at. Now I'm going to dig a little bit more into the product itself, and the premium, the plus, and the light. So it's going to kind of break down a little bit between those kind of three categories and kind of show you some of the changes we've made, and what it's going to look like as you start to purchase these products, and what to ask for, and those kinds of things. Definitely, anytime that you buy one of our units, it's going to come with product information, the technical information. It's going to have accessory offerings, all the documentation, and then the warranty. Every box is going to have that packet in it that's going to have all that information. If for some reason you can't get to that information, you can't find it, somebody threw the packet away, you can always reach out to us. We can help you with that, either through the rep or even myself. But if for some reason you don't have that, we can get it to you digitally. So our premium connected, we're just like we have been in the past. It's 2 SKUs. So you've got a 3-ton that'll go 2 and 3 and a little over, and then you've got the 5-ton that'll go 4 and 5. So we're not adding a bunch of SKUs like a lot of our competition always has done. You might see some similarities. We're being copied now, but that's something that we try to kind of make sure we're on the cutting edge of technology by being able to offer less SKUs that takes care of a lot more things. So you can see that we've got the 2, 3, 4, and 5-ton air handler also. On the left, you can see here, that's the 410 product offering. On the right is the 454 product offering. One of the biggest changes you're going to see is the sticker. In our premium product, it was always red because we wanted it to look a little bit fancier, whatever the reason was. Could have been a marketing thing, I'm not sure. But the one thing that we did is we went to the silver nickel on there. So if you were to see our unit and you saw the red and you saw the silver, you could maybe assume that it's the 454 product, but I wouldn't count your chickens till they're hatched, so to speak, because you're going to want to look at the actual stickers and say, hey, this actually says it's 454. So if you look, there is a change on the box. It's got the big A2L sticker, it says could be flammable, and of course it says R454 on the outside of the box. So those are one of the big changes. On the right, this is one of the changes I liked. Not that I didn't like the others, but this was one that I liked exceptionally, and that is, let's say the guy, whoever is installing, accidentally throws out those manuals and that you can't find them. Well, on our new products, there's going to be a QR code. So anybody that's got a smartphone, which is pretty much everybody, can actually hold their camera up and actually take you right to the products page of whatever unit is on there. So if you were to be on the 15, or I'm sorry, on the light product, you could go up there and it'll take you to the light portfolio. You can look at the technical documents, warranty, whatever you may have, installation. So that's one of the nice things. It takes you right to that product page just from that QR code. Of course, we're going to have differences when it comes to our products because of the A2L sensor. So on the left, that is what the old board looked like, and then on the right is what the new board's going to look like. And the biggest thing was we had to have that refrigerant sensor. So that's one of the bigger changes. And of course, one of the additions to cost. Once you start adding more components onto a board, that increases the cost of purchasing it. If you look on the board itself, on the outside unit, one of the big changes, and this of course came from the field, our current offering, the 410 product, where our force and check buttons are kind of hard to get to. They're tucked up underneath. That was one of the complaints we got from the field. One of the things that our engineers do very well is they listen to our feedback. And so as you can see on the right-hand side, we've actually moved that force and check button to the middle of the board. So as you're servicing that product, instead of having to get, really get down underneath there and kind of look and see where those buttons are, they're going to be put more in front, and it's going to be a little bit easier for you. So I think this is one of those aha things or eyebrows raised things that, like, hey, if I'm a tech or if I'm an installation person, I can actually see these buttons so much better than I could see in the past. So this is something that we feel we've improved, and I think this is something that that you guys will like moving forward. One of the other additions that we had to do, and it's because of of what we're doing and how we're doing it. How we've always, our IDS has always maintained the coil temperature has been through a pressure transducer. With the new product, we've had to add a second pressure transducer. We're still going to be maintaining the coil temperature mechanically, meaning we don't have a control that has to tell it what to do. And so because of that, and the new refrigerant, we had to add a second pressure transducer. So in theory, we're still doing exactly the same thing that we were before with the different refrigerant. We just had to do some different things to make that happen. And one of those things was adding that second pressure transducer. This is the other big eyebrows thing. For those of you that are familiar, if you were dealing with a changeout and you were going to put in our 5-ton unit, a lot of times you had to go up a wire size. Why did we have to do that? Because what we would put on our label for what breaker size was needed for our 410 product, and it was a 60 amp breaker. That was an issue. So we went back to the engineers and said, hey, is there any way we can get this to what everybody else is doing? And it was through a rating process and all that kind of thing. And so we were able to drop that 60 amp requirement down to 45 on the 5-ton. And then of course with the 2-ton or the 3-ton, we're dropping it from 45 down to 30. So we're just going to make it easier for our installers, for our contractors, and even for the consumer, without having that extra electrician bill of having to come run new wire, maybe even add something to the panel at the breaker. So or a breaker at the panel. So that's one of the big things. I think this is something that when I've talked about this in front of other contractors, this is something that really hit home, and they're like, wow, thank you. This is much appreciated. This makes those change outs for us a lot easier. One of the big things that Bosch has always done is look at simplicity. When we talk about installing our HVAC products, we want it to be simple to service and simple to install. And it takes a lot of engineering on our part to kind of get to that point. I've talked to contractors over the last, probably 3 or 4 years that have said, wow, you guys, you really came out with something that was different than everybody. And it's a little bit easier. I walk up to your unit at a training, I look at that board, and right away I'm scared. And then after I go through the training, I'm like, guess what? I'm not scared anymore because you explained everything and what that board does, and it's not that hard. And the reason that I say that is because if you look at this, we're exactly the same as we were in the past. We can be a heat pump inverter on only 4 wires with a 24-volt thermostat. And when I say in the past, I would say any 24-volt thermostat. Now I say most 24-volt thermostats. And the reason I say most is because there are some that don't play nice with us. The last thing we want is for that thermostat to tell our unit what to do. We want the unit to decide what's going on. All we need is a 24-volt signal that says, hey, I need you to heat, or hey, I need you to cool, and then let the unit take it from there. So just like in the past, we can do 4 wires. But guess what? We added a nuance. This is something new for us. And I know it says communicating, and I don't want this to scare anybody. This is not communicating in the sense of everybody else's stuff. What we're saying and communicating is that we can actually wire inverter heat pump with just 2 wires. And with those 2 wires, we're going to do exactly what we were doing, is telling that system what to do, but we're going to actually let that outdoor unit kind of talk to that indoor unit to say, hey, I'm able to do this, and my conditions inside are this. Maybe I can dehumidify a little bit better. Maybe I can slow that fan down. There's going to be some things that it's going to be able to discuss back and forth with that unit to say, hey, let's do this in this circumstance, and those kinds of things. So it's not communicating in the sense of you need a controller to tell, hey, I sense this and I need to do this, or I sense something else and I need you to change directions. It's still 24-volt thermostat, but we can do it with either 2 or 4 wires. Now, the biggest thing on the connected equipment is if you use our BCC 110 thermostat, it will let you do a little bit more. Like you can then set like, hey, I want my humidity to stay at this level, and those kinds of things. So there's a little bit more you'll be able to do, but it's not what we would consider as everybody else in the industry as communicating. This is us just saying, hey, let our system talk a little bit more than it did in the past, and maybe we can control the comfort a little bit better. What we do not want is all 6 wires on there. A lot of contractors that have never put in our stuff see six wires. They think that's the heat pump. That's normal. I'm going to put all 6 on. No, you will have damage. The board's probably going to fry. Who knows what's going to happen? Um, I've heard some of our trainers say, hey, if smoke comes out of a board, you can't put the smoke back in it. That means that board's done. so just make sure that when you're wiring these up, you don't use all 4. It's one or the other. Okay, so one of the things that we're doing is we're converting all of our equipment from 410 to R454. One of the characteristics of R454 is the potential for flammability. When I say the potential, and don't take this as Bruce's gospel when he preaches this kind of stuff, but to maintain a flame with an A2L refrigerant, you almost have to maintain a flame on it. Once you remove that source of heat from that gas, it goes out. So it's not like this is something that is super flammable like a propane that where if you light it, it will continue to burn. So the precaution is if something were to ignite that can maintain flame, like let's say a piece of paper, whatever, that is the issue that could cause the problem. Like if a paper burns, it's going to continue to burn, and if you have a gas that will keep burning with a flame on it, that's kind of the issue. So it's not that you can just light this and walk away. So just want to kind of explain that a little bit. And so because of this, we want to shut off our flow of refrigerant in case we sense a leak. So all of our equipment, so all of our air handlers and all of our coils are going to come with an A2L sensor. And what that A2L sensor does is it senses any particulates in the air that equal what comes out of 454 or any other A2L sensors as far as I know, or any other A2L gas as far as I know. And so once it senses that, what it's going to do is say, blower, I need you to run. Compressor, I need you to shut off. So those are the 2 things that'll happen if it senses something. In one of my other webinars that I did on this, a question was asked. Okay, so let's say I could get a sensor that senses gas. Does that mean I have to throw away that sensor and get a new sensor? And the answer is no. If that sensor senses gas, and it shuts off the unit, does all that, and you go out and you fix it, you find a leak or whatever, and you repair it, and you turn that back on. If for some reason it were to sense another leak, it's going to do the same thing. It's not a one-time use and fail product. So it will sense more than one failure.
And Bruce, you did just get a question in the chat too, just so you know.
Oh, thank you.
From Mac, he says, so it's basically a leak detector, question mark.
Mac, you're spot on, pretty much. Now, we don't know, right? What could happen, like if we get, like a certain hairspray that has a certain whatever that could sense something. We don't know. I hope we don't have any kind of nuisance calls like that where there's another chemical introduced into the airstream that senses. I believe that they're fine. We'll see. And this isn't a scare tactic or anything like that. This is just me saying that what the engineers have come up with that have designed that sensor, they're going after what's in that product. We don't know if future products will have anything similar, and I'm sure there's going to be regulations that'll take care of that. But I just the biggest thing is if that sensor does sense something, it can then sense again. It doesn't kill it, kind of like a CO sensor. If it gets too much CO, because that, like I said, that was a question that I've had before. So, Mac, that's a great question. Thank you. And Susie, thanks for bringing that to my attention.
Yep.
So what do we have that's extra when it comes to our products? Well, when we sell an air handler, and in the APR market, we get cold, so we might need some sort of auxiliary or backup. So if you are selling the air handler, we do have heat strips. These heat strips now have to be UL rated for A2Ls. the actual heat strip doesn't change. It's literally a rating for the heat strip. And that's so we had to introduce new part numbers. Even though the manufacturer part number looks exactly the same as what it did in the past, we at Bosch had to make it a new part number because of the UL listing. So if you were to have an old heat kit that wasn't this new part number, you would not want to install it with any of our 454 air handlers, just because it's not going to show that UL rating. So that's why you see why we have new Bosch part numbers. As we did in the past, we have a 10-year warranty for those Home Comfort Pros. As you register the product, that installation date is when the warranty starts. So it's 10 years from installation date as long as the unit is registered. If the unit is not registered, it starts from date of manufacture. So you could lose anywhere from 6 to 12 months, from when it leaves the factory to when it gets into the Bosch warehouse to the APR warehouse, and then to the contractor installing it at the homeowner. You could have a good loss of warranty there. So it does behoove you as a contractor to register our products just for the warranty. In the past, Bosch had our BCC 110 thermostat, which was Wi-Fi capable. When we decided to be more on the, and when I say communicating or connected, I'm talking about the Bosch products. When we decided we wanted to be more into that realm, we needed to be able to control the app ourselves. The original app for the BCC 100 was a third party. We had very little control, and if we had a problem, we would have to submit a ticket to this third party, and they would get to it when they got to it, and those kind of things. And because of our growth, we were able to add a team, so to speak, and our new app, the Easier app, is now owned by Bosch. So anything that we do with that app is going to be the future of Bosch Home Comfort. Any product that's going to be, heating, cooling, hydronic, whatever, that's going to have any type of connection to an app is going to be part of the Bosch Easy Air app. As a contractor and a Home Comfort Pro, you can actually register from that app. There's a lot of different things that we can do with that app. When you do sign up into the app, there's 3 different ways you can sign in. You can sign up as a homeowner, and then you can just see certain things. You could sign up as a installer or a technician. If you're an installer or technician with our new product, instead of having to Bluetooth and you do connect the system, you can actually look at the parameters via the cloud. You'll see that in some upcoming slides. So the Bosch Easier app does more than just control the thermostat. It gives the contractor and the homeowner different parameters to look at different times to see what's happening with the system, or to monitor usage, or as a service technician, you can actually see what those parameters are instead of having to go up to that board and push those buttons. So there's a lot of advantages to our systems in the future, and that includes the Bosch Easy Air app. So we already talked about the air handlers. I did not talk about our coils. Our coils, as far as their sizes and everything, it's still going to be standard sizes as far as width is concerned. If you've been in a basement and seen a Bosch coil, you're going to see currently not a lot of stickers, and then you look on the right, and then we got more stickers. And it all has to do with the new regulations with A2L and those kind of things. Every single one of our coils comes with an A2L sensor. With our furnace, and I'll talk about that in just a second, it'll be plug and play. And then if it's a third party, there's going to be a kit, and I will show that as well. But all of our coils will already have an A2L sensor. It will then, like I said, plug into either the Bosch furnace, or there'll be a kit, and then there's some different wirings that'll happen for that. So let's dig into the furnaces. We're still at a 96% furnace. I know that there are regulations and you can get money for having a 97% furnace. I will say that engineering is being done, just not there yet. So our current R454 96% is a Rev B. Our new generation 96% furnace is going to be a Rev C. So revision B versus revision C. So when you're out there and you're going to match a 410 system, you want to make sure that it's a revision B. If it's a 454 version, you're going to want to make sure and match it with the revision C. Those are both rated the way that they're supposed to be, and you want to make sure you match them that way. This just shows you the different SKUs and model numbers. If you were to look at our furnace, you're not going to see a big difference between the current Rev B versus the current Rev C, except for the color of the sticker. You're not going to see anything that says A2L or anything like that, because we can still sell that furnace by itself. Like if somebody just wanted heat, no air conditioning, anything, they can install our furnace and get exactly that. We do not have to have a heat pump or an air conditioner connected with our furnace. That's why you won't see anything on our furnace that says it has to be A2L when you look at our Rev C furnace, because it can be sold as a standalone. Now, that being said, the newer version is plug and play to our coil. So you set our Bosch coil on there, you're going to have that A2L sensor Molex plug that's going to go right into the furnace and plug in right into the board. That's going to be one of the things that we've never had to do in the past, is have to plug something from the coil into the furnace. Now, of course, on our air handler, it's already done. You know, how it's packaged, it's already set and ready to go. Now, let's say you want to use somebody else's furnace. Not a problem. We just need to supply you with what we call our A2L box. What does that mean? We have to be able to tell that third party component, hey, I need you to do this at this time. So we sell this A2L box, and if you were to look at that box, you're gonna be like, wow, that's a lot of wires. Not all the wires are used every single time. It just depends on what the configuration is and what's out there. So we kind of had to have a wide paint stroke or brush stroke that would cover everybody else's furnace, whether it's a 97% down to 80% furnace. And so this box, you would not have any wires going into the box. All your wires would be external, and it's just based on what you have for that third party and how it would be wired. So you have, if you look at the label, it says, okay, this is the wires for the outdoor unit. These are the wires that need to go to the thermostat, and then these are wires that need to go to the gas furnace. So depending on the configuration is the wires that you're going to use, and it of course comes with the installation manual.
Bruce, we have another question. Well, two actually. One just came in, but Jeff asks, can we add A2L mitigation to Rev B furnaces?
Jeff, the only time that we could do something like that is with this box, but it's not going to be like rated for rebates and those kind of things. It can be done, but there's just not going to be any rating. So if we're looking for, hey, I need to qualify a rebate, or I need to qualify for a tax credit or anything like that, you're going to want to have the Rev C with the 454 units. But yes, you could use the Rev B, but then you would need that A2L kit. It's just not going to be rated for anything, just like it wouldn't be rated for somebody else's furnace for credits or anything like that. But great question.
Thank you. I had typed it in before you went over the box to help it be useful for other non-Bosch furnaces, but it was mainly so we could use it for we may end up with furnaces left over. I want to make sure that we can continue to sell them, even if we match to 454B.
Yes. It just, like I said, just when it comes to tax credits and those kind of things, there's no like HRI rating that says, hey, this qualifies for anything. So you just wouldn't have that. If you're looking for ratings, you just want to make sure you match the right one with the right one. But just like anybody, our B furnace with our 454 product would just be like you putting on any other brand. It just wouldn't be a match system. Will the units, indoor, outdoor coil, having straight? Oh, that's a great question. I've been pleading for this for years. So I'm not going to go off on a long tangent, but I'm going to go off on a tangent. I just got promoted at the first of the year. I'm now a senior regional sales manager, so I cover the whole east side of the United States. And my very first meeting that was with the upper management, Alex Wootnow, I should say Dr. Alex Wootnow, who is the president of Bosch Home Comfort North America, happened to just be in the meeting. Like, we're physically in a meeting, and there was a bunch of other people. And he says to me, he says, Bruce, congratulations on your new role, blah, blah, blah. He's like, if there was something that you could do, what would you want to do that could help us sell product? And I said, we need stub outs. He goes, what are you talking about? And so I just kind of started talking about, and then my boss, Dustin, was in the room, and he said, this is something that we asked for the new 454 products, but engineering said it was too late and all this kind of stuff. Well, that is a sticking point for Alex. So I'm happy to say that it's gonna happen, but I don't have a time frame. But so Bo, I'm on board with you, man. I want those stub outs. It's what we were hearing was, well, most everybody does it because they have to. Well, yeah, if we give them that you have to braze, that's what you're going to do. So so two things. One, I was told that they did extend it a little further and it can be cut off. I don't have proof to say that that's a thing or it's real. I just heard it said, but know that in the future that is something that we're planning on doing. So Bo, great question. And yes, it's going to happen. So I'm excited. All right. Now let's go into what we call the light and the plus and what that looks like. Instead of 2 SKUs, we have 3. And the big reason for this is multifamily. We needed to introduce a less expensive 2-ton unit, and we couldn't just sell the 3. We learned that the hard way, unfortunately. When we went after jobs, or our contractors, I should say, went after jobs, they were priced out of the market if it was a 2 versus a 3. And so we learned that. And so when we came out with what we called at the time our 15th SEER, which is now our light product, we do have that 2-ton option. There is no 4-ton. The 5 is going to take care of both of those SKUs, but we do know that in the multifamily, 2 and 3 is where it's lived, and where it's going to continue to. So we do have that offering. So that's a plus. Just like we did with our other products, you got your air handlers, 2, 3, 4, and 5-ton. This is a slide that I don't like, but I like to show up because it's a talking point for me. I've had some reps, or I've even had distributors that have seen this, and then when they're talking to a contractor, they'll say, "Oh, Bosch is getting rid of the 18s here." We're getting rid of all 410. So that's not a true statement. So as you can see here, it says phase out. What that actually means is we don't have to have those SKUs anymore, is because we're able to actually hit that same efficiency without having these 2 extra SKUs. So when I hear somebody say, "Oh, the 18's going away," I say, well, no, all the 410's going away. Our new offering is going to be we're still going to be able to hit all 3 of those levels that we were to in the past with just less SKUs, which makes somebody like Jeff and your accounting department happy, and your warehouse guys, because it's just less SKUs to have in stock. You don't have that other SKU that you just have to worry about. All right, so how do we get to there? All right, so if we pair our light condenser with our light air handler, that's where we've got our light product. And then if we compare our light condenser to our premium product, we get our plus. So that's where plus comes into play. So it's, again, light plus premium. And if you want to compare with numbers, 15, 18, 20. So that's kind of our offering. The good thing is, if you're in those colder climates, we added the Ultra. So that is something that's brand new, something that Bosch has not had, and it's something that we knew we needed to bring to the market because of the regulations and everything. We needed a cold climate heat pump, and that Ultra is taking care of that for us. Change? No change. So if you were to look at our Light and Plus product versus our 15 and 18 SEER, it's going to look exactly the same. Same dimensions, same colors. The only difference is you're going to see those stickers, A2L, flammable,
What?
454,
Yeah,
all
not
those
even in
kinds
the
of
country
things.
yet. Yeah.
Oops.
No, they hope to have it in sometime this summer.
Jeff, could you
It's
mute
on the
yourself,
ocean. It's already
please?
shipping over. It's just not here yet. So
Oh, there we go. I think you're good, Bruce.
Okay. The biggest difference, of course, is going to be on the box. You're going to see where it says 5454, and you're going to see where it says A2L. Again, on the right-hand side, you can see where we've got the QR code. So it takes you to that product page. I think this is something that's big. It's going to make it easier in the field if you can't find. Now, it's not that somebody can't go to Google and look up Bosch Home Comfort and then try to find our product page. It can be done, and I've done it, and I've seen people do it. But actually, just being able to go scan that QR code and take you right there is going to be quick, like super fast. So this is again one of the additions that I really liked about it. So you're seeing here, we've got all the AHRI ratings for all of our matchups. And that includes the Light, the Plus, the Premium, everything that's out there, we've got the ratings for. If you can't find it, you can always reach out to our manufacturer's reps. I'm sure Jeff's team has a good list of it as well. We can definitely get you whatever is needed. But all of our matchups do have AHRI rating. We're all Energy Star. It's just what do we qualify for? And if you can see, there's Energy Star Cold Climate, there's NEAP, there's CEE North, there's a lot of different things. And one of the things I talked about previously was that if you look at our Light product, it's not going to qualify for all the rebates and all the credits that are out there. It'll qualify for some in certain places and those kinds of things, but it's our Premium product that's going to qualify for all of that stuff. So it's not that it's not going to do what we say it's going to do, and that's heat and cool. It's just it's not going to be able to hit some of those parameters that are needed for some of those different efficiency ratings. And then of course you can see where we've got coil only, and then of course with our furnace. So the previous page was just our air handlers, and this shows all the different ratings with the coil and the furnace and the coil by itself. The board, same thing. We've moved those check and force buttons into the middle. Makes it a lot easier for you to see, be able to push, those kind of things. So service, install, good convenience. And of course, the same thing with the breaker size. So not only did we do this with our Premium product, but we did it with the Light and Plus, where you're not having to worry as much about making the wire size a lot larger. So I just saw another question. Is PA considered a cold weather climate? That's a great question. I'm going to say yes. And the reason I say yes is I've been in Pittsburgh in January. I've been in Philadelphia in January. To be honest, I'm going to sell the Ultra from Virginia North. I think I just sold our first one in North Carolina not too long ago, but it was more like out in the mountains. So when we look at cold climate, we're kind of drawing that Mason-Dixon line. Anything that's north of that, we're considering cold climate. Anything that's south of that, we're just going to sell just a heat pump. Now, one of the things that gets brought up a lot is, what's my delta? Like, what does my design temperature need to be at in order to consider selling the Premium versus the cold climate? My suggestion is our Ultra is going to heat 100% down to 5 degrees. Our Premium is going to be, I think it's 100% down to like 18 degrees, something like that. So you got a 13-degree delta. And if the Ultra is that much more expensive because and remember, in the Ultra, we're only 4 and 5 ton. Where in the Premium, we're 2, 3, 4, or 5. So that's what I would look at. As a consumer, they may just say, hey, I want the Ultra, or they may say, hey, I just want the Premium connected. Who knows? But as either a contractor or distributor, if you want to educate your customer, I would say let's look at that delta. What's that design temperature? The design temperature that you're looking at for your area. I was just in, like I said, Kentucky earlier this week. I think the design temperature and the cooling season was like 20. So do we need the Ultra for there? Hey, I'll sell them if they want it, but do we need it? And so that's kind of how I would look at it. So, but great question there, Chris. Talked about wiring earlier. So we're still a 4-wire heat pump, 24-volt control, even with our light and premium. And then of course, even though we're not connected, we can still let those units talk to each other and do 2-wire. So even our light product, we can run 2 wires and have an inverter heat pump. That's amazing to me. You know, when I first was introduced to this product and had our engineers going through this, I'm like, wait a minute. What do you mean we can just do all of our product category from, let's just say 15 SEER to 20 SEER, like it was in the past, and just do 2 wires? And the one engineer just said, Bruce, we're smarter than everybody else. Of course, it did gain a chuckle, but he just said, look, we needed to, when we do things, we need to look at what's simple. And because we design the technology with our premium product, how can we advance that or keep it in our full product family? And that's really why they did it. So because of the engineering that was involved in this, they just looked at, look, let's not have our wiring for our 15 or our light and our plus and our premium to be different. Let's make it all the same. And I thought that was an amazing answer. So you know, that's why we did it. Same as the other, we don't want you to wire all 6. So just make sure when you're talking about this, either you're the contractor talking to your installer or you're the distributor talking to the contractor. Just make sure that they're not wiring all 6 wires. Just like our premium, the A2L sensor will be installed on the air handler. So whether you have the light or the premium air handler, A2L sensor is already installed. Now there is a chance that if you are going horizontal left, or if you're going downflow, you do have to move that sensor. So any other configuration, sensor stays where it's at. But what we want to do is make sure whichever way that air is flowing, that we want to make sure that that sensor is put in the right spot. So if you're ever, you know, you always hear like, you know, what's the serial number? If you got to do a warranty, if you got to call into tech support, we need the serial number. And the reason that we need the serial number is we need to find out when it was made, where it was made, all those things. Like it'll say it was made on this date at this manufacturing plant. And there's a lot of information that goes into that. And then we can look at, oh, maybe we had to outsource a part, and of those 30 units we had to outsource that part from, we're having an issue. All right, we have the one issue here, then we get another one. Now we got to look at those other those other serial numbers just to see if there's a problem. So we do serial numbers. If nobody's ever told you this, we do it for quality control. Our serial numbers tell us everything we need to know. In the serial number, it actually has the part number, the Bosch SKU at the end of that serial number. I can even remember when I was in distribution, my complaint to Bosch was, your serial numbers are way too long. But there's a method to their madness, and that's how they track and those kind of things. So they do see that in the HVAC world, they have a very long serial number, but it's because they do the same thing that they do on the automotive side, the same thing they do on the appliance side. Like, so they're not just looking at a heat pump, they're looking at a dishwasher, they're looking at, all these different ones, and they try to use that same serial number format. But all of our units are going to have the serial number on it in multiple places. It's going to be on the box, and then of course it's going to be on the unit. What I tell people is every technician, every installer has a smartphone. Take a picture of the plate. It's going to be on there. And then you can share that, like if you were needing help from one of the reps, you could share that with the rep. That's the thing that we want to do, is make it simple for you. And I just say, look, everybody's got a phone, it's got a camera, take a picture of it, and then we can help you from there. As for the presentation, that's the end. I'm 100% open for as many questions as anybody wants to ask. I know we took care of a couple, but I just want to open the floor up. So if there's anything you got to ask, please ask away. If you have more questions and you want, or you want any kind of training, whether it be technical, whether it be even on the sales side, that's something you can go back to the APR guys and they will contact us as needed. I've said this and I can always say this is the APR team has a great resource when it comes to their technical people that can help you out. They're very in tune with us at Bosch and they know their stuff, and they're very in tune with our reps. So if you ever need anything from APR and they need our help, they know who to contact and they know how to get the information.
Yeah, I have a question here. This is Mac with Schoonover Plumbing and Heating.
Hey, Mac.
Yeah, I'm one of the salesmen for this company. I feel like a lot of my customers that I go out and I meet with, they're always really concerned about efficiencies. And as everybody's changing to R454B, like I say, a lot of customers worry about that kind of stuff. And I know you talked about the Ultra and the Premium and the Plus and the Light, about where they operate, like where they're 100% efficient down to. Because I feel like that's a lot of customers that ask me, like, hey, this is 100% efficient down to this temperature outside. I know you talked about that. Is there a website I can see that, or do we have a slide on that or anything along those lines?
Yep. So if you go to boschhomecomfort.com and you go to our products page, you can see all of our literature that has a lot of that information. But if you're wanting third party, and that when I say third party, that's AHRI's website. And if you go to their website, they're going to say whatever parameters that they test our equipment at. So whether it's 47 degrees, 17 degrees, 0 degrees, whatever, they're going to have those numbers on that website. It's a lot of information. And then you can actually print out a certificate from their website that'll give some of those same characteristics. It might not have as much, but it's going to have a lot of the same information.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. And what's easy is if you go to their website and you just put in the AHRI number that we provide, it takes you right there. Like it's right there.
Awesome.
Yeah, anytime. Great question. All right, let's see. Oh, that you had that in the chat. Great. Do the Bosch stats work on zoning systems? Bosch stats are just like any other 24-volt control. It can go with anything. You just have to set it up to match whatever it is you're trying to do. I did a lot of zoning in my previous life. I came from distribution. So I worked as a distributor and I sold a lot of zoning. And it doesn't matter what brand you sell. They're all supposed to do the same thing. And that is, I need to tell a damper when to open. I need to say, hey, I need to bring air down here in this space because my whatever thermostat control, whatever is calling for it. It's going to be the same thing with our thermostat. Just make sure when setting those up that you set them up to match whatever parameters that you need or that you're looking for. I'm not putting up thank you to say I'm done answering questions. I'm just putting that up there. Great questions. I'm actually going to put my email in the chat as well. So if for some reason you're like, oh man, I forgot to ask Bruce this question, you can definitely email me and I'll do my best to respond and get it answered as quickly as possible. Of course, you can reach out to your APR salesperson, counterperson, whoever at APR. I'm sure they can help you out also. They know like I said, they know the people to ask. I know, Jeff, your TSAs are top notch, and I always hear contractors give that team a lot of kudos. So you have some really terrific gentlemen on your team there.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Jeff, do you have any
questions for Bruce before we wrap it up? Sorry, Bruce, didn't mean to cut you off there.
I was going to ask Jeff that. I was going to say, hey, Jeff, was there anything else you want me to either comment on, or do you have a question? And if
No,
not,
I think you did a great job connecting the dots, reviewing the roadmap of 410A and its transition over to 454B. I think you hit all the talking points I wanted.
Awesome. Well, like I said, if for some reason you think about it, you're sleeping at night, and I don't want anything to keep you up awake at night. But if you're thinking of something, write it down. Shoot me an email. I'll definitely get an answer. I personally I reach out to our main engineer for the IDS product. His name is Shiyu. It's SHIYU. He's a great dude. He's like I'm glad I know somebody that smart. Let me just say that. And if ever I need something, and I have a direct line to him, and I can say, hey, I need this, or do you know what this is, or whatever. And the only time that he's ever come back and said, Bruce, I don't know, it was because it wasn't IDS. Because if it's IDS, he knows it all, and I do have a direct line to him if I ever need to get an answer for anything. So if you do think of something, please let me know.
I had a question about the new Bosch thermostat.
Sure.
Is it did you say it's a BCC 110?
Yeah, so we transitioned from the BCC 100 to the BCC 110. The only reason that we came out with the new model number was because our BCC 100 wasn't quote unquote Energy Star rated. And what I learned, it wasn't that it couldn't qualify. It's just whoever our engineer at the time didn't want to do the paperwork. When I say didn't think it was necessary to be Energy Star rated. So go ahead.
I was gonna say, is that gonna work better for dual fuel than what the 100 did? Because I did not have good success with the BCC 100 in dual fuel. They were fine for heat pumps, but not for dual fuel operation.
So what I would say to that is that especially if you talked to the rep and they couldn't get figured out, we actually at some point in time, I don't remember when, we had a firmware change that helped that. I don't want to say that it 100% fixed that, but what I've heard is that once that firmware changed, that they did not have the issues they were having in a dual fuel application. So that was actually fixed in the BCC 100, but it took a little while. Like it wasn't like we changed it overnight. I mean, I think it took a couple months or 3 months or whatever that was.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're very
Well,
welcome.
One comment on the BCC 110. The programming is done through an app. So when it's installed, you hit the QR code and or through Wi-Fi once the controller is on the wall.
So I see Anton just asked about the dual fuel, had something. It's definitely something in the settings. I personally just had my 20 SEER product installed not too long ago on the 410 side. And if you go in there and I'm not blaming the contractor because I wouldn't have known this either, but if you go in there and you hit enable on the emergency heat, it has its own algorithm built in, and it was bringing on the electric heat a lot more than it should. You actually have to disable that, and the only time that it will bring it on is if it can't hit a certain temperature after a certain time. And it's kind of the same thing when it comes to humidity control. So if you're having issues with dual fuel with any of our thermostats, I highly recommend either getting hold of one of the APR TSAs. If they don't know or can't help you, they'll get the Keystone guys involved, who's our rep, or CKA guys, and they know because they're taking these calls in the field all the time. Another thing too is yes, our tech support has long wait times when you call in. That's why I always say reach out to the distributor first. If the distributor can't figure it out, they can call our rep. And then if the rep can't figure it out, that's when we get a hold of tech support. And the reason I say this is it's not that our tech support isn't good or anything like that. It's just our tech support gets calls like, hey, how do I wire this thing? Or it's not actually something that we feel is a call to tech support, but they get so many of those. We get homeowners that lie and say they're a contractor. We get all sorts of things. And so, when it's you're the contractor and you're actually needing the support, we're trying to kind of weed those other calls out, or trying to kind of get them more transition towards our distributor partners and our reps, because they know like, hey, you really need something right now. The last thing I want is for anybody to wait on hold for more than 10-15 minutes when it comes to something like that. There's so many more people that we have that you can call besides our tech support. And again, our tech support's really good, but they're just bogged down with things that they shouldn't be bogged down with, and it's just unfortunate. One of the things that Bosch is always doing is looking for more people for tech support. I think they've had 2 spots available for like 6 months or something like that. So, one of the things we did this last year was we added time. So now we're open till, I think it is 7 p.m. Eastern, because we wanted to take care of our friends out in the Western time zone. So we did extend our tech support hours, but they just get bogged down with things that they shouldn't have to be bogged down with, unfortunately. As far as Honeywell stats, look, I just think they need to be programmed correctly. I know that they come out of the box, I think, for 3 air changes. You need to set that to 1, because you'll have humidity issues. So many times they'll say, well, here's somebody will say, hey, we just put in your units, and yeah, it's quiet and all this, but man, you guys control humidity horribly, and it's because we're letting that thermostat say you can shut off, and you're telling that the thermostat's telling our system what to do, and we don't want that. We want that set it and forget it mentality, and the one thing that we can't have is too many air changes, because that's then the thermostat saying, okay, you need to shut off. You've been running too long. And of course, we know we can't dehumidify it unless we have extended run times. Great comments, questions.
Just a comment on that. Obviously, this is a Bosch presentation, so the 110's good, but just for dual fuel TH8321WF or TH8321R, if you need red link capabilities, are a good option as well.
Yeah, I'm not here to sell thermostats. I'm here to sell Bosch IDS. But if somebody wants a Bosch thermostat on the wall, we do have them, and they are capable. For the issues that happened in the past, I would just say, hey, we've figured it out. We've figured out what was going on, and it's going to be a little bit easier in the future. And of course, because we now own the Bosch Easy Air app, it makes it a lot easier for us to make changes than waiting for somebody else to do it, because we're able to do it directly from Bosch and not waiting for somebody else. Awesome. Well, Jeff, I want to thank you for inviting me to present for you and your customers and your team. I'm always here to help. If for some reason you don't feel like you hit enough people and you want to do something again, or you want to do something more specific towards anything, just let me know. And then, of course, if you're wanting a more in-depth technical training, the team at Keystone does a great job for us. If you're local to them out of Pottstown, they do Keystone University, and they do trainings pretty often throughout the year, and they even bring in some of our corporate trainers, and they do some on their own. So we've got everything that you need. Just all you have to do is ask. So thank you, everybody. If I don't talk to you, have a great weekend.
Thank you, Bruce. And if anyone wants to watch the recording, it should be up on our YouTube channel tomorrow. And for APR teammates, it will be up on APRU, so you can watch it there. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Susie.
Thanks.